My wallet was in your bag, you thief. My sister-in-law glared at me while rummaging through my bag, shouting those words. This happened during a family dinner celebrating the setting of our wedding date, with both my and my fiancé's families present. Among those gathered was my soon-to-be sister-in-law, whom I had always found difficult to deal with. She had taken notice of me during our recent visit to announce our engagement. Since then, she had frequently invited me to meals, always saying things like, "I don't have any change today. Could you cover for me?" Or, "I forgot my wallet. Could you lend me some money?" She had never once paid for her own meal. Moreover, she had never paid back any of the money I had covered for her. Initially, I had wanted to get along with my sister-in-law. However, my distrust grew day by day, and I had started trying to avoid her as much as possible. Now, being accused of theft in front of my fiancé and relatives, my mind went blank. The wallet in my sister-in-law's hand was indeed hers, but I swear I didn't steal it. "Please, calm down for a moment," I tried to say. "What? Are you going to make excuses? Be prepared to pay compensation for stealing my wallet," she yelled excitedly, not giving me a chance to speak. Looking at her behavior, I ironically felt myself becoming calmer, and I couldn't help but smile. Then the relatives started laughing too, leaving her looking bewildered. "What's so funny?" As she turned red with anger, I decided to tell her the truth. "Well, I can't help but laugh. You've said quite something. My name is Miranda, a 28-year-old office worker who just got engaged to my longtime boyfriend. My fiancé is Theo, 2 years my senior and my supervisor at work. Theo has been looking after me since I joined the company. My first impression of him was that of a reliable boss who was easygoing and sincerely listened to his subordinates. As we interacted daily, we began talking about our personal lives as well as work, and gradually developed feelings for each other. Our similar ages and shared interests probably helped spark the connection. After several years of office romance, we decided to get married and agreed to first announce it to our parents. When we visited my family home, my parents and sister wholeheartedly congratulated us. My sister is 7 years older than me, already married, and lives near our parents' house with her husband and 2 children. Due to a childhood illness, she currently works from home as a translator, but she had finished her work early to come see us when she heard I was visiting. "Congratulations, Miranda. Theo, please take good care of my sister," my sister said with a smile, bowing deeply to Theo. "She has always doted on me since I was little, and I adore my kind and intelligent sister." On our way back after greeting the family, Theo said, "Your sister is lovely," which made me happy as if I had been complimented myself. "You have a sister too, right?" "I'm looking forward to meeting her," I said, but Theo showed a complicated expression. "I'm glad you feel that way. But honestly, my sister can be quite selfish and showy." "I'm worried she might cause you trouble," Theo answered reluctantly. It seemed he didn't really want me to meet his sister. I wanted to get along with my future sister-in-law, but at that time, I couldn't imagine how much trouble she would cause me. Later, when we visited Theo's home, his parents welcomed us. "Miranda, it's been a while." "Thank you for coming," his mother greeted me in a relaxed tone, and his father gave me a warm smile. I had only spoken with Theo's parents a few times at their doorstep, but our relationship was good. However, this was my first time entering their house, and I was nervous about both announcing our marriage and meeting his sister for the first time. As it turned out, his sister wasn't home. While I felt disappointed, Theo was visibly relieved. He really didn't want me to meet his sister. Keeping his sister in the back of my mind, I had a wonderful time chatting with his parents, and my nervousness quickly disappeared. His parents were genuinely happy about our marriage, and I was feeling relieved as we prepared to leave. As his parents were seeing us off and I was putting on my shoes at the entrance, suddenly the front door opened, and a woman entered saying, "I'm home." Seeing her, Theo let out an "Aw." "Oh, Theo. What, you're leaving already?" "Stay a bit longer now that I'm home," said a woman who appeared to be in her mid-30s, around my sister's age, as she stood blocking the doorway. However, unlike my sister, she wore heavy makeup and seemed strong-willed. I immediately knew this was Theo's sister, Odette. According to Theo, she was divorced with no children. "Nice to meet you, I'm Miranda, Theo's girlfriend." We came to announce our engagement. I bowed to Odette, but she just responded with an indifferent, When I looked up, Odette was scrutinizing me with an appraising look. Then she smirked and asked, "Where did you meet Theo?" "Hey, Odette, this is your first time meeting Miranda. Don't start with questions like that," Theo scolded her with exasperation, but Odette ignored him and continued firing questions at me. "How much is your salary? You dress well, so you must be quite wealthy. Do you work at the same company as Theo?" I was confused by this barrage of questions, unable to respond with more than a "well, when Theo intervened and reprimanded Odette. "That's enough, can't you see you're making Miranda uncomfortable? We're leaving, so please move aside." Theo tried to pull me away from Odette, but she glared at him as if telling him not to interfere. "What's wrong with chatting a bit? We're going to be sisters-in-law after all." "Oh, Miranda, let's exchange contact information while we're at it." When Odette took out her smartphone and said this, I was hesitant, but since we would be family, I couldn't really refuse. I ended up giving her my contact information, though I immediately regretted giving in to her forceful personality. Even when their mother said, "Odette, don't cause too much trouble for Miranda," Odette showed no sign of concern and went inside. I finally understood why Theo had looked troubled when we discussed his sister earlier. Unlike Theo, Odette seemed to have a forceful personality and didn't listen to others. She was completely opposite to my own sister. I couldn't help feeling anxious about getting along with her in the future. However, since we would be family, I still wanted to maintain a good relationship, so I decided to make an effort to respond promptly whenever Odette contacted me. After exchanging contact information, I started receiving frequent emails from her. Through our exchanges, we discovered our workplaces were nearby, and one day Odette invited me to lunch during work break. I thought I had no reason to refuse, but when we finished eating and were about to pay, Odette suddenly exclaimed, "Oh," as if she had just realized something. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Sorry, Miranda, I don't have any change right now. Could you cover for me?" "I'll pay you back later," she said without showing any embarrassment while looking through her wallet. Though I found her behavior suspicious, I thought it was just one lunch bill and covered it as requested. However, on another day, oh dear, I forgot my wallet. "Miranda, could you pay for me?" Odette kept inviting me to lunch but always found some excuse to make me pay. When I tried to collect the money later, she would brush me off saying, "It's just lunch money, why be so petty?" While one lunch bill wasn't much, since Odette kept inviting me, my expenses gradually increased. Several months passed, and she still hadn't paid back any of the money I had covered. My distrust of her grew stronger day by day. I learned that it was better to avoid Odette altogether, and my desire to get along with her had completely vanished. Recently, I had been declining her lunch invitations with various excuses and keeping email responses to a minimum. While I was trying to cut off contact as much as possible, one day after work, something happened. As Theo and I were leaving the office, I heard a familiar voice calling my name. Looking toward the voice, there was Odette. She had been waiting for me to finish work. "How sweet, leaving work together like a married couple," she said in a sarcastic tone, making Theo frown. "Odette, do you need something?" Theo asked, and she smiled sweetly, saying, "Actually, I have dinner plans with friends today, but I'm short on money. Miranda, could you lend me some?" Her behavior, as if she had gotten a taste for asking me for money, really put me off. "I refuse. You haven't paid back any of the money I've already lent you," I firmly rejected her. Immediately, Odette became irritated and retorted, "How cold-hearted. We're family, aren't we? What's wrong with lending money between family members? Besides, you earn more than I do." I was amazed at how she could be so brazen. By the way, I had never told her my salary, but she probably investigated it since I work at the same company as Theo. I wanted to argue that I wasn't part of her family yet, but before I could speak, Theo scolded Odette. "Even family shouldn't keep borrowing money like this. Instead of going to dinner, you should pay back what you owe Miranda. If you can't pay it back right now, just go home." "Hey Theo, who do you think you're talking to? I'm your sister. Are you choosing some outsider over your sister?" Odette glared at me while calling me an outsider, despite having just called me family. Furthermore, she started spouting nonsensical arguments like, "In today's world, women need to have money. Do you understand, Miranda? If you can't lend me money, you're basically admitting you're poor." Even Theo seemed to have lost the will to be angry and just looked dumbfounded. "This is ridiculous. Miranda, let's go." Don't take her words seriously. We couldn't be bothered to say anything more to Odette and decided to leave, pretending she wasn't there. People leaving work were starting to stare at us, making us the center of attention. "Wait right there," Odette shouted behind us, but we didn't look back. After that, I still received occasional messages from Odette, but I was busy with wedding preparations and kept my responses minimal. Of course, I declined all her invitations to meals, and I hadn't seen her since she ambushed us outside the company. Meanwhile, we successfully set a wedding date, and a dinner gathering was arranged for both families. The venue was Theo's parents' house. Shortly after Theo and I arrived, my parents and sister arrived too. Odette was present at the dinner, but surprisingly, she was unusually quiet, barely speaking to me after the initial greeting. While her behavior felt eerie, the table was set with luxurious dishes, and the atmosphere was celebratory. The dinner party was proceeding in a pleasant atmosphere, and everyone was enjoying friendly conversation when suddenly, What? It's gone. Where's my wallet? Odette, who had just returned from the bathroom, started yelling. Apparently, her wallet that should have been in her bag was missing. Calm down, didn't you leave it in your room? Her mother tried to soothe her, but Odette wasn't listening at all. I definitely put it in my bag. Oh, I get it. You stole it, didn't you? Odette looked at me while saying this, then grabbed my bag that was placed beside me and started rummaging through it. Her eyes widened in surprise as she pulled out a wallet from my bag. It was her wallet. See? Just as I thought, my wallet was in your bag. Odette shouted triumphantly and continued to confront me. You stole it while I was in the bathroom, didn't you? Acting all innocent, but you're actually a terrible person. I oppose you becoming my brother's wife. Odette. Please calm down. Planning to make excuses. What you did is theft, be prepared to pay compensation. Not giving me a chance to speak, Odette continued yelling excitedly. However, I couldn't help but smile. When I started laughing, my parents and Theo burst out laughing too. Faced with this scene, Odette stood dumbfounded, but soon her face turned red with anger. What? What's so funny? Well, I can't help but laugh. You've said quite something. Ha! As Odette stood there not understanding, my sister, who was sitting next to me, spoke up. That bag isn't my sister's. It's mine. The moment she heard these words, Odette's expression froze. What? As cold sweat appeared on her face, I asked, how could my sister possibly steal your wallet? It was clear that Odette had been looking for an opportunity to cause trouble for me. Having anticipated that she might try something, I hadn't brought a bag to today's dinner party. The bag beside me belonged to my sister, and moreover, my sister could never steal someone's wallet. It was absolutely impossible. This was because my sister has been wheelchair-bound since childhood due to an illness. She cannot stand or walk on her own. Theo's parents and Odette had seen my sister arrive in her wheelchair. And my sister hadn't moved from her current spot since the dinner party began, engaging in pleasant conversation with both sets of parents. Most likely, Odette herself had placed the wallet in my sister's bag. The question was, when did she manage to slip the wallet in without us noticing? Odette, you came near us to greet me and our parents before dinner, didn't you? At that time, you were sitting in a way that blocked my bag with your back. I found your behavior strange then. Wasn't that when you put the wallet in? My sister's calm words solved the mystery. Unable to answer immediately, Odette's eyes darted around nervously. This reaction was as good as admitting it. Cornered with no way to escape, Odette groaned, "Ugh." My sister continued to admonish her in a composed tone. I had heard about your personality from my sister. We're almost the same age, yet you would resort to such an elaborate scheme to hurt someone. What kind of person are you? Please stop hurting my precious sister. Hearing these words, I finally realized that my sister was angry. My sister has a gentle personality, but when she's angry, she speaks in a quiet, lecturing tone that can be quite frightening. As Odette stammered, unable to make excuses under this scolding, his parents joined in reprimanding her. Odette, what were you thinking? How shameful to accuse Miranda of being a thief. This is completely disgraceful. We raised both you and Theo equally. Where did we go wrong? Miranda, everyone, I deeply apologize for my daughter's behavior. Theo's father bowed to us. However, seeing her parents apologize didn't seem to affect Odette's heart. The next moment, she stood up forcefully and glared at me with a fierce expression. What's this? Everyone's making me out to be the bad guy. I've been against your marriage with Theo from the start. Even today, I was hoping you'd be humiliated and break up, but you've ruined everything. Her outburst of anger despite everything left me speechless. However, learning Odette's true feelings enraged Theo. That's enough, he shouted, making her flinch. I've been quiet until now, but you've been trying to ruin our relationship all along. I can't take it anymore, so I'm going to say everything right here. What? Wait, what are you going to say? Odette tried to stop him in panic, but Theo, having lost all patience, wouldn't stop. He exposed all of Odette's misdeeds, from making me cover lunch bills without ever paying me back to ambushing us outside our workplace to beg for money. Furthermore, according to Theo, Odette had been secretly spreading baseless rumors about me to him, trying to break us up. Who would believe such nonsense? I know Miranda better than anyone. She's been working hard since she joined the company, and I know she's sincere and kind. Even if you're family, there are things you shouldn't say. Theo didn't go into detail about what kind of rumors Odette had spread, but from his intense anger, I could imagine they must have been quite terrible. That was happening. When I expressed surprise at hearing this for the first time, Theo looked regretful. I'm sorry. I didn't want to worry you unnecessarily, so I kept quiet. No matter what Odette said, I always believed in you, Miranda. His sincere response made my eyes well up with tears. Wiping away the tears that had formed in my eyes, I turned back to Odette. Odette, I've decided to stand by Theo no matter what happens. So please, let go of your brother. At this, she blushed, perhaps from embarrassment, and shouted, "Shut up. You'll regret this," before storming out of the house. With the storm past, I let out a sigh of relief. I'm not afraid of whatever schemes Odette might plot in the future. This incident has only deepened my love for Theo. I vowed in my heart to keep believing in him and walking together through life. A few days later, all the lunch money Odette owed me was returned through her parents. Apparently, they had pressured her to repay what she had borrowed from me. Then, Odette's ex-husband contacted her parents. It turns out the reason for their divorce was Odette's spending habits. She had even dipped into their living expenses. She was supposed to be paying him compensation, and while she had told her parents it was already settled, there was still a considerable amount outstanding. Recently, her ex-husband contacted them because the payments had stopped. Upon learning this, her parents had finally had enough and cut ties with her. Besides her misdeeds against us, she apparently had a history of stealing money from home. In fact, Odette had other debts from buying luxury brands, on top of the compensation payments. According to Theo, Odette had been reckless with money since her 20s, and her parents had repeatedly warned her about it. It was astounding to learn that when Odette finally couldn't make ends meet, she had even embezzled money from her workplace. This was discovered by her company, and she was recently fired for disciplinary reasons. Later, after being thrown out of her parents' home and losing her job, Odette called me. "Miranda, I have no one else to turn to. Please, just lend me some money," she begged tearfully, but of course, I refused. "Isn't it a bit late for that? Pay back your compensation and debts with money you earn through honest work. I want nothing more to do with you. But, we're family, aren't we? Let's get along from now on." I wanted to get along with you at first too. But I have no intention of becoming family with someone who's reckless with money and shows no remorse for their actions. After I stated this firmly, Odette was still yelling something, but I hung up without listening. After that, Odette started living in a modest apartment she could afford with her meager savings. However, pursued by debt collectors, she soon had to leave even that apartment, and now no one knows where she is or how she's living. Theo also said he would never associate with Odette again. A month passed, and we held our wedding ceremony without Odette present. The joyous time spent being celebrated by so many people remains an irreplaceable lifetime memory. After marriage, we moved into our new home that we had been preparing, and soon after, I discovered I was pregnant. Now we spend fulfilling days together, eagerly awaiting the birth of our child. We hope to continue living happy days ahead with our new family member.